Hello, everyone. My name is Srishti and I'm a fintech advisor here at Hyperbots. Today, I'm delighted to have John Silverstein as one of my guests. Thank you so much, John, for taking out the time today. It has been amazing working with you in the past, and hopefully, we can continue that from here. So, for the viewers, a little bit about John. He is the VP of FP&A at Extreme Reach. And today we will be discussing Georgia's sales tax rules and how companies can keep updated with all the tax changes. So, whenever you're ready, John, let's get started with it.
All right, let's get started. Happy to be here.
Of course, thank you. And John, let's start with a very basic question. So, can you just provide an overview of Georgia's state and local sales tax structure?
Sure, I can provide that. In Georgia, there's a base rate. So it's every state's different, as we've talked about before, but there's a base sales tax rate of 4% in Georgia. And then, however, because that's just the base, the local jurisdictions are allowed to add up to 5% in additional taxes. So the combined rate could be up to 9% in some areas. For instance, cities in Muscogee County, they have a combined sales tax of 9%, while some areas in Glenn County may be closer to 6% due to fewer additional levies. This layered approach allows for flexibility to funding for local projects, but can be, again, more complex for businesses and to keep on top of.
I see that, and that perfectly makes sense. And that brings me to the next question. Are there any specific exemptions from sales tax in Georgia that companies should be typically aware about?
Yeah, similar to other states, Georgia has some exemptions too. Groceries, for example, they're exempt from the state's portion of the tax, although they may still be subject to local tax. Prescription drugs, they're entirely exempt from both the state and local sales tax. And medical equipment such as prosthetics or other prescribed devices are also exempt if prescribed by a licensed professional. This helps to reduce the financial burden of the essential goods, but requires companies to, again, correctly categorize these and track such items.
That is very interesting and definitely a good initiative by the Georgia government. So, how does Georgia handle sales tax on digital goods and services?
Yeah, for Georgia, digital goods they're taxable similar to physical goods. So downloadable music, ebooks, streaming services are subject to the same sales tax as physical equivalents. So if a company is selling digital content in Georgia, you need to have an account for sales tax, which can add the complexity of doing operations across states with these varying tax policies. So it's similar to the physical, but then it's where that location is. So if your customer
Mhm.
is in Georgia, you have to calculate the sales tax and are liable to collect.
Ah, I see. And that brings me to the next question. Can you share some examples of jurisdictions within Georgia that have notably high or low combined sales tax rates?
Yeah, so the combined sales tax, again, it's a wide range where it can range up to in Muscogee County, it goes up to 9% due to the local options added on top of the 4% state rate. On the other end, the Glenn County's combined rate, it can be only around 6% or slightly higher. So it varies again by these local rates in the jurisdictions. So they can impact your pricing strategies and tax compliance if you're in different counties.
I see, understood. Now, if we compare Georgia to other states, how does it compare in terms of its sales tax rates and frequency of changes?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, and it's important as some states are more like on an annual basis and you don't have to stay as on top of it. In Georgia, the state sales tax is 4%, which is relatively low. It's ranking around the middle compared to some of the other states. However, the local taxes bring the average combined rate closer to that 7.75%, which is slightly above the national average. So the state is maintained a consistent 4% base rate for many years, but the local jurisdictions occasionally adjust their rates. So states like California, for instance, have been more frequent changers due to the districts and municipality taxes, especially in areas of voter approved measures for local funding. So Georgia, it's not always changing in things, but the local jurisdictions do have that ability to change, and Georgia's kind of stayed out of the increases versus the local jurisdictions have been doing more of the movement for their local projects.
That's very interesting. So, can you shed some light on how frequently do these changes in sales tax rates occur? And are there any tools to stay updated?
Yeah, the states, like we were just talking about, they don't adjust as often in Georgia because it's been slightly above that national average and things, and they haven't had to increase for more tax revenues. The companies, they turn to tools like the Sales Tax Handbook, Georgia's Department of Revenue website for updates. You can also have the automated tax management solutions that can provide updates as well. So that helps the business stay compliant and avoid any non-compliance issues.
And that is definitely very helpful. And now to going on to understanding some challenges. So, what challenges do companies face when managing sales tax for different goods and services in Georgia?
Yeah, one of the key challenges is compliance across these diverse categories, such as the groceries or digital goods, medical devices. They each have their own sales tax rules where you may even need a prescription from a doctor to not get charged the sales tax. For example, groceries, they're exempt too from the state tax. Prepared foods are fully taxable though. So this differentiation requires companies to establish accurate categorization of in their tracking systems. Another challenge is keeping up with the changes across the counties, particularly for companies with statewide operations. If you're not just in one county in Georgia or you're selling, this gets harder, like I was saying too, if you're not in the physical goods business and someone can just download your software, all of a sudden your tax rates can be different in every county in Georgia, and you might have customers in all pretty quick.
That's really something to look out for. And that really brings me to the last question for our viewers. Given your experience, can you share how AI can help businesses stay updated on these sales tax changes and improve tax compliance there?
Yeah, AI is already really helping out in this area and making sure that companies are compliant on monitoring the systems and all these different places where things can change from a tax standpoint or rulings on taxes. So it's continually scanning these legislative updates, rate changes, or exemption adjustments, or even tax holidays or those types of things. Making sure that you're compliant on all those things is very AI can keep you on top of. It can alert a company of these changes. If there's a new exemption is introduced for a category that you might have listed, or also checking your categories against the state rulings and things as well. It can also help with the integration of bringing that data into your company's ERP automatically and adjusting these calculations and reducing that risk of error of trying to manually calculate and look up every time you do a sale on a manual process. So for companies operating multiple states, AI's ability, or multiple counties in the case of Georgia, it's definitely very helpful to report on the complex tax changes and invaluable in making sure that you're compliant across every jurisdiction.
And that's really amazing. AI has really moved strides over there. And with that brings us to the end of the discussion for today on Georgia sales tax and keeping up with all of these changes. Thank you so much again for joining us, George, and sharing your insights. Also, big thanks to our viewers today. I'll see you around and goodbye. Have a very good day.